If you've been following along on our automation series over the past month or so, you've seen us talking about Process.st, Airtable, Zapier, and have you wondered what it looks like to put all three together? Hi, I'm Patti Scharf, CPA and partner at Acuity, and today that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a quick demo, a quick example, showing you how we might use Process.st, Airtable, and Zapier all together to create some cool results. Over the past several weeks, we've been talking about all things automation, and I wanted to give you a chance to see all three of them playing together. One of the things I realized as I jumped into all of the automation that I do is that really there are three key components that you need for everything. You need the database or the single source of truth for housing all of your data. You need the way to enter the information. So it might be forms, it might be something else. And we use Process.st for that. And then you need the tool that's going to provide the automation and tie those together and actually perform the magic. So what I kind of realized as I was diving in, and I've been seeing this over the past several years, is that a lot of these tools, they've come to the same realization as me, that everybody needs all three things. So I'm going to show you these three together, but honestly, you could start with just one and kind of build from there. What I mean is, let's say you're talking about Airtable, which is a database and your single source of truth. Well, Process.st realizes that you need a database. So they've created something called data sets that will give you kind of a database functionality without getting a separate tool. And Zapier has figured that out, and they've created something called tables, which gives you the database without having to get a separate tool. Or Process.st, which is really more for entering the data and having a standard workflow. Well, Zapier has figured out that they need some kind of a form functionality, and they came up with something called interfaces. And then Airtable, Airtable's had this for a really long time, but they have something called forms, so you can enter the information that way. So, and all three have a little bit of automation built in. So whether you're choosing a best of breed for all three tools and using the best of breed together, or whether you're just choosing your favorite one and doing just kind of taking baby steps to do the other stuff, all of that works and may work best for you. Let's jump in with an example. I want to start by saying that I did not build an inventory management system. So this is not going to be as robust as you're going to see with things like Finale or Sin7 or any of the other people or tools that actually do this for real. This is just a basic, it's a step up from a spreadsheet. Okay. This is using Airtable. And again, if you want to see more information about Airtable, you can see the video I did a few weeks ago there. Okay, so we're looking at the different tables. We're starting with suppliers. These are the suppliers that you're buying the stuff from, what their terms are, who the contact is there, their email address, and the different SKUs that you buy from that supplier. Also, if there's a lead time associated with them, that is listed here. The rest of this I'm going to talk about when we get down the road a little bit, but all of these numbers come from one of the other tables, specifically the purchase order table. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the item list. These are your SKUs. So it's going to show you your SKU, description of the SKU, the cost per unit, at what point you might reorder, and then who your supplier is. So you'll notice that this is all the same information from the last table that I just showed you, right? If you look at these little magnifying glass emojis up here, these are lookups from the other tables. So this information is not repeated here. It's pulled from the record that already has this information. So this should look familiar. I just showed it to you on this suppliers tab. Actually, let me do that again. So you can see it's linked there. You can see where it's coming from. Okay, so that is all that. In addition to your SKUs, now you've got purchase orders in here. the view, let me look at a simpler view. If you look just at a plain grid, you can see all of the different purchase order numbers, the order dates, what was purchased on that purchased order, the quantity, and then it's extrapolated out. So whatever the cost per unit that was on the item list is multiplied by the order quantity to come up with the line item order total. And then you can see over here on suppliers, I told you I'd come back to this. This will show you the total orders that were placed with a particular supplier, and then the dollar amount related to the closed orders and the dollar amount related to open orders. So this can be useful when you're doing cash flow projections and things like that. It can just kind of combine all that information for you without you having to key it in again. And then over here we've got inventory, and this literally just tells you which SKUs you have, the number of SKUs, like the quantity of that SKU, the cost per unit, and then it extrapolates it out to tell you what the cost of that inventory is. So you can see down at the bottom, the total inventory on hand is just under $1,500, and it's made up of red shoes, white paint, and a large boomerang. Okay, so this is all of your source of truth data, where you are keeping track of it, not order by order, but just kind of combined together as data. Next, we have Process.st. If you're not familiar with Process.st, go check out the video I did a couple of weeks ago on Process.st. This is going to be the interface. So these are the forms that you're filling out to update the information that I just showed you in Airtable. So I'm just going to run a workflow, and we're going to see how this puppy works. All right, so to create this, I literally just went in and I used their AI feature in their system and said, hey, create me an inventory tracking system that's not very long. And I gave them a few tips about what I wanted. And then I tweaked it for my purposes, and that's what I'm showing you now. So it came up with all of this text, all of the fields and everything on its own. We're just going to walk through it. So here we're just assigning who's going to be completing this. All of these assignments came from me choosing the workflow runner here. You can automate as much of this as you want to, but I'm trying to make it simple. All right, so we get to the first step, and it's saying, hey, we're going to place a purchase order. So what is it that you want to order? So what I'm going to order is red shoes with a SKU of that. And hopefully I got that right. We will find out in a second. When I mark that as done, this automation is going to run. Okay, and it's going to use this zap that I created, which I will show you when I'm done with Process.st. Actually, I'll show you kind of back and forth probably. But what I did is I marked this as done, and that told Zapier that it needs to do some things. It needs to go to Airtable and pull out the information that it has for this SKU. So if we go to the next step, it'll tell me what information we've got. It says no SKU on file. That's not right. That's a bug, because it pulled in red shoes, Roadrunner red shoes at $14.95, and it populated all this. So I know that that's right. So there's something funky here that I need to go fix. But in any case, it knew that the supplier is Acme. It knew the cost per unit, it knew the description and all that. So we just need to fill in all the blank information. I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so I've chosen purchase order 008, order quantity of 25, use today's date to order that. And when I mark this as done, the automation is going to run. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to go over to the inventory tracking really quickly, and we'll hopefully see it show up. And there it is. it's as if by magic. So one of the great things about using Process.st is it can force completion of data. So when you are ordering placing a purchase order or something like that, you have to know the supplier, you have to know the order date. And I say you have to because you can't mark this task as done if any of these fields that are required, which is designated by the little red asterisk, if those aren't completed, then it doesn't let you mark it as done. But once you do, it's going to go fill out that information. It also keeps you from doing typos on the supplier or just funky things, okay? So once that's done, it went to Airtable, as you saw, and it added the purchase order. It also pulled in the information on the supplier, and it's got the information. It has the email already drafted for you. You can just send this out to your supplier, and it just makes the whole process really kind of streamlined. I'm going to just kind of peek at some subsequent steps where you can record receipt of it, you can track the shipment, you can inspect the goods, you can all those different things. You can pay your bill or whatever you want to do. Whatever your workflow is, you can customize this to be that for you. And one other thing, in my automation, I also had it automatically rename this to show what the purchase order number was and to show what the SKU it relates to is, so that you could go back and look at the details. Like if you were to look here at inventory tracking, and it'll show you all the open workflows, you can see the details and quickly and easily have kind of an audit trail for all of that. So you've seen where and how to enter the information here. You see how the information lands here. You can see in Airtable how you can take a look at what the different purchase orders are per supplier and show how many closed orders are, or open orders, or total orders, or whatever. So you can manage all of this on kind of a high level basis and use this as just the data entry point for getting the information into your system. Now, for looking under the hood at the guts, let me show you the two zaps that I showed you in this workflow. So the first one came here with this little lightning bolt, and I added in the emoji just so you can see where the automation is. But the first one under initiate purchase order, what it's doing is it's going and it's looking for the SKU in Airtable, and let me just show you what that looks like. So what this says is when a purchase order is initiated and that task is marked as done, then Zapier is going to go find the SKU that's related. So let me move my face out of the way. Specifically what it's doing is it's looking at this database in Airtable, and it is looking for the item list table, and then it's searching for the SKU. And I had typed in the SKU that we wanted to order, and so it knows what to go look for. When it finds it, it looks up and it changes the formatting of the cost per unit. So maybe it was just a plain old number in Airtable, but it shows up in Process.st as dollars, as currency. Let me show you there. So when we get to here where it's populated, see how it shows up as a $sign. So that's what it did. And then it has this final step where it goes back and it updates Process.st for all of this information. So it's pulling in, it changed the name of the workflow, but then all of this information you can see by the emoji that it comes from Airtable and is populated into Process.st. And this one, it came from this special formatting step. So at a really basic level, this is how it works. Let me show you one more example. Okay, here is the other zap that we did. And it's just saying when this task is marked as complete, it's going to go into Airtable and it's going to find the supplier. So whatever supplier we had listed in Process.st, it's going to go find it. And then it's going to go find the SKU. So same thing. It's going to go into Airtable, and it's going to go look for the SKU that was listed in Process.st. Now in this case, it's find or create the SKU. So it's going to go look for the SKU, and if the SKU does not exist, there's a question down here, create Airtable record if it doesn't exist yet. And the answer is yes. You might not be able to see it. But the answer is yes. And if the answer is yes, then what I've done here is I've defined all of the answers that are in Process.st that's defining what's going to be added in Airtable. So if there's not a SKU already, it's going to go create one. And it gives the information, enough information for it to be able to do that. And then we've got a step to add the purchase order into Airtable. So it goes to the POs table and it adds the information again that was pulled from Process.st, or in this case, from Airtable. So in this case, if there wasn't a SKU already in there and we created one, now we need to tell Airtable which SKU is related to it. So that's where this comes from. And then we go update Process.st with the new things that we know, including the workflow name. So remember how I showed you the workflow name changed, and it makes sure that the supplier name is in there and we know who to send that email to. And those are all the steps. I hope that was not overwhelming. I know that this can get really complex really quickly with 3 systems that are so robust, but using these 3 tools together can be so powerful, and you can create pretty spectacular results using these tools. So I hope you figured that out from this video. I hope you like this video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.